And we're talking with Mr. Johnson, who was actually on the flight 50 years ago. Is that right, Mr.? No, you weren't on the flight, but you were with the fire department.
Air Force Fire Department, Seymour Johnson.
The Seymour Johnson Fire Department 50 years ago. And where were you when you first got the call?
I was off duty in the barracks.
Right.
We worked 24-hour shifts, and I was off duty, and they came immediately and woke us up, and we grabbed the fire truck, and we was the second run coming up to the crash.
Did they tell you there was a large explosive involved?
It was B52 crash, and you know, you have a lot of gasoline, and when gasoline makes contact with hot engines, you're going to have the rapid ignition of fire and flame.
So when you first got on the scene, what did you see?
Well, it was dark, and of course the fuselage was completely burnt out, and as daylight came, little by little, we could see more, and we didn't know how many people had been picked up. Our helicopter was in the air. We had an H-43B helicopter, firefighting helicopter, Seymour Johnson, that was in the air, searching for the weapon, searching for crew members, and little by little, as daylight come, we just put it all together, and we found 2 bodies in the aircraft, and myself and a fireman that I worked with, Johnny Middleton. We went to the site of the weapon that parachuted, and we stood by until it was disarmed.
And how many, you were one of how many fire people involved?
Oh, we were probably, there could have been as many as 30 of us up there at one time. There was two runs up there. The first people that were on duty were standing by on the runway for it to come in. They went immediately to the crash, and the off-duty personnel that was in the barracks, we were there within probably 15 minutes or so.
And how long were you at the scene?
Oh, we were there up in the day until it was secured and there was no other dangers of fire.
Mr. What's your full name?
Fred Johnson.
Mr. Fred Johnson from Tennessee, I believe.
Yeah, I'm from Tennessee. I've spent 30 years with the airport in Nashville as fire and police there.
Well, first of all, thank you for your service to our country 50 years ago, and we appreciate your being here today.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson.
We have some brief remarks by 3 individuals here today. First, I'm going to call on Ansley Herring Wegner of the North Carolina Office of Archives and History. Ansley?
Hi, it's great to be here today. Thank you all for coming out. It's not the best of weather, but these days are among the best in my job. It's great to get out and talk to people and see people that appreciate the marker program. The marker program has been putting up markers since 1936. We have 1,560 markers in our system right now. They may not all be up. We actually count on folks like you to let us know when one's not up, and I've already heard about one today. But the proposals come to us from the public, just like this one did. My office works to write up an essay and present it to a committee of 10 history professors, folks who know a lot about North Carolina history, and they will decide, they meet twice a year, and they decide whether or not the topic is of statewide historical significance. If it is, as this one was judged to be, we put up these markers. They're made to last, and we hope that they'll inspire generations right here on the street corner. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I had the honor of meeting Adam Maddox this morning, not the sole survivor of the crash. He was one of 5 who survived the crash, but the way he survived it is truly a miracle. but he is the last living member of the crew. So I'm going to call on, let me say with the honor that I call on Adam C. Maddox for brief remarks.
Thank you, each one of you. We realize as we were going throughout the years and months that these men who were part of the Air Force needed some type of recognition. And I'm glad to say for all of those who have labored and have struggled to bring about this action, we pray for you and want you to pray for me. Thank you.
It's also an honor for me to introduce to you today Jack Revelle, who was called on by the Air Force to come down and lead the explosive ordnance disposal team to disable that one bomb that was caught in the tree and to look for the other bomb that augured into the ground. It's an honor to introduce Jack Revelle.
I'm from New York, so I'm going to try and explain this in Southernese. Hi, y'all. I'm honored to be here again today. I was here a year and a half ago when we had the 50th anniversary reunion of commemorating the Goldsboro Broken Arrow. At that time, it was just me. Since that time, Joel Dobson wrote his brilliant book entitled The Goldsboro Broken Arrow. Currently, bringing up to date, a movie script is being written right now. I've seen about 30 pages of a 100-page script about the Goldsboro Broken Arrow. The title is yet to be finalized. We have a gentleman here today who represents the public broadcasting system who is seriously considering doing a NOVA documentary about the Goldsboro Broken Arrow. And I am especially proud to introduce publicly for the first time 3 members of my EOD team, 3 of the 4 surviving members from 51 years ago. I've managed to find them within the last 3 or 4 months, and I met them again today for the first time in 51 years. So I'd like to introduce you to the people who are actually in the ground, digging up the weapons and making it safe, not only for North Carolina, but for all of the country. Gentlemen, if you come up in alphabetical order, Melvin Baker, Larry Cato, and Larry Lack. These are the gentlemen that saved your county. And I appreciate it, and I hope you do. And thank you for permitting us to be here and share in this celebration of what could have been a great failure and has turned out to be an opportunity to show what we as Americans can do in the face of adversity. Thank you very much.
I'm not sure.
Do you want to put it in the back? It might make for a better shot.
Somebody's going to have to get up on the ladder.
Which side do you want?
He's going to need to come this way because it's still.
There you go. Now put it from your side.
That's it, Tyler. Go hard right down here. Go towards the street.
Can we use that pole?
Yeah, that's what I was trying to do. There goes that one.
That was easy.
Here,
Here's probably the pole.
Mr. Barrett, why don't you take that pole?
Now go.
There you go.
And we're talking to Mr. Joel Dobson, who actually is responsible for all the attention. I guess he could say he's responsible, or we could say it. He wrote the book, and again, the title of the book, Joel.
The Greensboro, the Goldsboro Broken Arrow.
The Goldsboro Broken Arrow, which is what this is all about. It's all about the plane that crashed back in 1961. And what inspired you to write the book?
Well, I was in the Air Force about 50 years ago. I was in the Strategic Air Command. I didn't know anything at all about this thing. My son told me about it. He said, you know, there's an atomic bomb in the ground down at Goldsboro? I said, can't be. So I came down and I started right at that post office right over there. And I asked the lady, do you know anything about that crash? And she said, no, but he does. And he pointed at Billy Reeves. And from that point on, I had all the information. I started knocking on doors. And it was just amazing how much information I got, because people had been told at the time this was all very classified. Well, it's 50 years ago, and the information, a lot of the information I got has been declassified. And I just want to make a point. There is no danger from that piece that's in the field. There is a part buried there. It's non-explosive. It's a part of the fuel unit of that, but it's not in any danger of being indicated. There's no explosive of any kind in it. So,
I'm glad you said that, because some people are still concerned about that.
Yeah, the most dangerous thing, and I say this every time I talk, would be any 50 caliber shells. There were 2,400 shells in that tail gun, and they were scattered all over. And I know a lot of people down here hunt. They know what a shell is, and they know how to handle it. Does their great-grandchild, who hasn't even been born yet, know about it? That could be very dangerous.
So how much have you received a lot of attention from the book, and how are sales going?
Sales are going very good. I didn't write it to make a lot of money. I just wrote it because I wrote it for my grandchildren, really, because I think that nature has a very simple rule that the lesson will be repeated until it is learned.
Very good. Well, Mr. Dobson, I appreciate you speaking with us.
Thank you
Mr. Joel Dobson, the author of the book, Goldsboro Broken Arrow.
Yes.
And it's on sale near you today.
Right. It's on sale in Amazon.
Amazon.com.
Put my plug in, my shameless commerce division.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Hey, Dobson, sir. I'm a reporter. I warmed up. People thought they wanted to be air conditioned, so we moved it down, right down there where that white steeple is, to a fellowship hall. But we're right here. In just a minute, I want you to all come out here out in the sun one more time. But this is to commemorate the plaque of the crew and the firemen and the EOD team. This is to commemorate the first responders that were the firemen from this fire station right here. And that man over there, step right up here, Earl. That man right there in the red shirt, Earl Lancaster, was assistant chief at that time. He didn't know what he was getting into, but all he could see was fire from right here. And he rolled out. And that is the spirit that makes us what we are.
Good. No, turn around here and look at me now.
Am I going to be famous?
Yes, Mr. Mike Rouse is with us. You're already famous. Mike Rouse, former editor of the Goldsboro News Argus, and I don't want to say you're retired, because you're the kind of person you never retire. But I understand, Mike, you were here the night that plane went down here in Fayro, Eureka, and you covered it for the newspaper.
I did. I was here shortly after it went down. Wayne, I was asleep in bed. It was about midnight when the telephone rang, and it was a federal agent named Tom Doherty. Some people here might remember him. He used to bust up liquor steals. Well, he was waiting for the steal that night for the bootlegger to come back so he could make an arrest.
Right.
And he saw something flying across the sky on fire. And he called me and said he thought it must be an airplane from Seymour Johnson. And he told me approximately where it was. So I got in the car and I had my great big old speed graphic camera with the film that you load from the back, and came out into the country roads following his directions best I could. He didn't know exactly where it was, but I got lucky and found it. I went down a slope, crossed a bridge and up another one, and had a field on each side of the road. And I looked over to my left, and there was a fire in the ground. Looked to my right, across the road in another field was another fire. So I took the camera and went over and took some pictures. And there were a few people from the neighborhood who had come.
What time of the night was this, Mike?
This was, I guess, 12:30, 1 o'clock. I got back to the office and did some things there, wrote a little bit, dropped off my film, got back out there, and by the time I got back out there, the Air Force was there. And I mean the Air Force, the whole Air Force. And they were standing around, and they no longer wanted any pictures made. But they did let Bill Futrell and Rudy Faircloth from the AP get there for pictures that they thought were okay. And that was it.
That was it.
Yeah.
Pretty exciting evening, and
oh my goodness.
one that you'll always remember, I'm sure.
I will. And I really appreciated the invitation to be here today. And it's incredible to think 51 years later and a half that we're here, standing here. So much has been said about this thing, most of it erroneously. Thank goodness.
Yes, a lot
some
of
it's
it
been pretty dire. But
Mike Rouse, former editor of the Goldsboro News-Argus, thank you for speaking with us.
Thank you, Wayne.
I appreciate it.
January 1961, volunteers from this fire station were the first to respond to a deadly B52 crash 1.6 miles down that road. I'm paraphrasing here. Three crew members died and 2 thermonuclear weapons fell from the disintegrating aircraft. Both bombs were safely recovered by the EOD team, Ordnance Disposal Detachment from Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, Dayton, Ohio, led by this guy, Lieutenant Jack B. Revelle.
This is the team that did it.
And there was a team of 10. 3 of those team members are here today. Be sure to meet them. A non-explosive part of that bomb remains buried in the field down there, and that is known as the Goldsboro Broken Arrow. But the flight was based at Seymour Johnson Air Force Base. It was crew R-10 of the Strategic Air Command, and they were Major Walter Scott Tulloch, the pilot, aircraft commander, co-pilot Captain Dick Rardon, the 3rd pilot, the relief pilot, Lieutenant Adam Maddox, and he is here today. Where is he? Right, I am glad you made it out.
Yeah, it kind of is.
Major Gene Shelton, he did not survive the crash. He was a radar navigator. Captain Paul Brown, the navigator. Lieutenant Bill Wilson, the electronic warfare officer. Sergeant Frank Varnish, the gunner, he did not survive the crash. And Major Eugene Richard, who was the wing staff officer, he did not survive the crash. So we want to remember those 3 names, and I will remind you of those later on.